You know.
What's up? What's up? What is up? The Pop Up Podcast back in effect. Can I get a round of applause for my people? All right. This is Andre Mitchell, Dre, Pastor Andre. I'm known by several things. And let me bring my co host in, Stephen Mitchell. Bring him up.
What's
Can we get a
up,
round
bro?
of applause for old Stevie Steve?
What's up, bro? Happy to be here. Happy to be with the people again. So good to see y'all. Excited about us popping back up. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it has. It's been a minute since we've come together and convened and talked. So, what's new in your space? What's new in your world?
Um, man, a lot of good things, a lot of busy things. Been working on three things really. Been working on, well, outside of my regular job, outside of my family. I've been working on Diamond Shine Cleaner. Been working on my Turo business, car sharing, and I've been working on Stephen Motivate as a brand that helps. I keep going, vacillating back and forth between various statements of how I want to talk to people and help explain to them how I help them. But my latest one is, I help part-time entrepreneurs generate full-time revenue. So that's what I've been excited about and working on there, man. And it's keeping me busy. It's keeping me busy.
I
So
like that. I like that. Helping part-time entrepreneurs generate full-time revenue or full-time income.
full-time revenue, that's right. Full-time
Yeah.
revenue. And the thought behind that is a lot of people think, okay, I've got a job. I either don't need to do anything else or I can't do anything else. And we just try to dispel those myths that hey, you can be as big as you dream to be. So if you want to do more than just your 9 to 5, uh, I've been able to do it. I know others who've been able to do it, and yeah, that's what we're trying to let people know. So that's what I've been on. What you been up to?
I've been in a whole lot of stuff. Uh Unfortunately, the last phew, let's see, in the last 7 days I've done two funerals, and
Jeez.
that can get a little taxing. It's interesting. You want people to hear you speak, new people to hear you speak, but not necessarily in that way. I'd much rather them connect to me through things like this. But then again, I understand there's also an opportunity, and so I've been trying to juggle with should I grab these opportunities even though they're going to add extra stress and extra layers, and so trying to figure out if you know who you are and what your well, I always say, does this fit within my wheelhouse? Does this fit within who I'm trying to be long term? And many times it does, and so I'll try to step up and step into it, do it. So I've been doing that. I did get a chance at the top of the month to go out of the country with my wife, so that was cool. And then came back and did a little vacation with the family. So trying to just be everything to everybody that I'm supposed to be. But in the process, I've got to figure out how to have some time for me. So,
Yeah.
me and my wife, that was our anniversary trip, but I had really got the trip for her. I was trying to kind of surprise her and just do it up big for her. And then after that, came back and I wanted to do something with my kids. And I'm learning that I'm not really putting in outlets for me specifically. So I'm
Mhm.
learning how to do that, how to add that, and not be such a go getter that I don't go get myself. So I'm still a work in progress in that. Um, actually, do you have any thoughts on that? I shared something that my therapist told me. I am in therapy. I got a chance to get back in therapy. I was in therapy a couple years ago, and then just could not. Our schedules couldn't align, and the lady kept canceling me. Sometimes I had to cancel, and it just didn't work out. So I decided I'm going to try something different, and I'm doing video conference therapy. So that's actually been helpful. But my therapist said something to me. This would have been Tuesday that I thought was interesting, and she said, "Trust that the people who need to find you will find you. You don't have to overextend yourself."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Good. That's good. That's good.
that kind of hit me because I was telling her about, there's these opportunities. I got these funerals, and so she was asking me, well, okay, how does the funeral trigger you with your own father's loss? I'm like, well, it can trigger me, but I know that this is an opportunity. There's young people in my city that kind of need to hear me. They need to hear my wisdom. I need to be out in these spaces, stepping out. But she was saying you don't have to overextend yourself. So you do have to trust that who's supposed to see you is going to see you without you wearing yourself out. Take the opportunities that are there, they're right in front of you, but don't overreach, don't overextend yourself, or don't throw yourself out trying to reach that next opportunity. And I actually stopped her. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm about to write this down. This is good. And so I pulled up my notes and I wrote it down. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm about to remember that. But that's not what I'm prone to do. I'm prone to like, this is an opportunity. I got to step in it. I got to grab it. But it doesn't do good if you're consistently overextending yourself. And what she was trying to tell me is, in long term, can you stay at the same pace that you're on? This pace I've been on for the
Right.
last 7 days, 14 days. Can you keep that pace up long term? And I've already looked at it, and I got about 4 or 5 years to maybe consistently be in this pace. And she's like, but can you do it? I'm like, okay, I need to reevaluate that. So I'm learning as I'm growing.
Yep. No, I think that's huge, man. And I need to relook back into therapy again. I haven't done it in a while, or I haven't tried to do it in a while, but I know therapy is a positive thing, and therapy is dope. I seen one of my mentors wear a shirt that said therapy is dope recently, so I thought that was good. We just need to change the narrative about therapy, and uh, what do I want to say? Emotional health or mental awareness, right? Because we did a show on Wealthy Thoughts recently where we were talking about there is a stigma with mental health in general. So it's good to hear more people, especially black people, getting out there and being open about their need for therapy, because we've lived some traumatic lives to be honest about it. We've Black people as a whole, we don't I don't we don't know it, but even in corporate world, even in 9 to 5 jobs, even in school, college settings, and even some churches, you have to do, especially us, we've had to, what I heard somebody's call code switching, where I got to talk this language, and then I got to talk
Mm.
this other language, and I got to make sure you're comfortable with me, or versus you ever having to make sure I'm comfortable with you. And so all that stuff is really traumatic and we don't know it always. But anyway, I think therapy is good. And the other thing I wanted to say is yeah, is it scalable? And I think about that in the context of business. A lot of people ask me about working a job and trying to do things part time. And I always say this, one of the best things about it is that you end up finding other people to work through, finding people to work for you or you working through them. And the best thing about that, that model is more scalable than me doing everything myself. And while it's costly, I'm spending money, and sometimes it feels like I'm almost blowing money. But I also know I'm planting those seeds because I can't do everything myself. And I do a lot of things, and I certainly need to, and I know you do a ton of things as well. So I certainly need to look at therapy. But I think that question for everybody is, okay, is what I'm doing scalable? And it's not that you don't need to start at scale, but at some point you need to ask yourself, is this scalable? If I, can I do this? Like you said, for uh, the next decade. If not, start to step back and think, okay, what do I need to put in place to make this more scalable, um, in a way where people aren't as reliant upon me? And that is hard work to not do stuff yourself when you
Hmm.
know how to, the way you want it done. And frankly, you can do it for less expense in the short term, both time and money. It's hard to try to force yourself to get work done through others, but I'm trusting that is the best thing to do because I think it's going to make some of the things I'm doing, and probably good for you as well, some of the stuff you're doing more scalable, right? How
Yeah,
can
that
I still get you a pastor to preach your funeral? But look, I can't preach 9 funerals, in 9 weeks. It's not good for my health.
yeah, that's. I want to touch on the last thing you said, and also back up something going back to the whole trauma thing. But just as developing leaders and becoming leaders, one of the things that great leaders do, they learn how to delegate. They learn how to delineate and delegate, and they learn how to raise up and develop people. So they're delineating, they're delegating, and they're developing. But that's hard work. It's easier to do it yourself sometimes, but doing it yourself is not scalable. It's not wise long term. And in many cases, I'll take it and break it down to something more home oriented, because a lot of people think when you think of leadership, you always think of a big position. But if you're a parent, you're a leader. If
Right.
you're a mom, a single mom, you are a leader. And so sometimes you want the dishes done, but they're going to make a mess doing the dishes, and you just rather do it yourself. But sometimes you have to train them. No, you're going to do the dishes. You're going to take out the trash. You're going to do this. And you have to deal with the frustration of trying to develop them, because long term, when they become a little older, you're going to need that help. And there's going to be times where you're not going to want to do it. And I've been trying to do that with my children. You get in a situation where you want them to be better off than you were, and so you do a lot for them, but sometimes you realize you're doing too much. And I noticed I was going by the trash and taking out the trash a lot, and I'm like, I got 14, 15-year-old boys in my house. Why am I doing the trash? Why am I
Right.
paying for the mortgage and doing the trash? I'm just used to it, and I was like, no, y'all get up, get off the video game and come down here and do the trash. Now, the time it took for me to wake them up and make them do it, I could have done it myself. But what I've been developing them the way they need to be developed. So I'm learning that that's important, but it's very difficult for go-getters and doers to actually uh, delegate. And so that's something to learn. But going back to
Yeah.
that conversation about trauma, there was a study about the Holocaust survivors and how they actually studied their DNA and seen that the trauma could actually be traced in their DNA, in the future generations' DNA, people who had not actually been in the Holocaust, but that the trauma is passed on through the actual DNA. And
Yeah.
so someone was curious if this could happen in a horrible time like the Holocaust, but a short period of time as compared to slavery. They wanted to go
Right.
back and look at African Americans, and they seen the same thing, that we're carrying trauma. And so just living life can be traumatic, no matter what skin color you are, ethnicity, gender identity, whatever. It can be traumatic. And sometimes you're carrying those things, and you have to find a way of decompressing and pressing through is always something we've been taught, but sometimes you don't need to press through. You need to stop and evaluate, take some inventory, and yeah, maybe my what I'm doing it out of trauma, or out of for me, one of the things that I have that I've learned, I have what they call a fear of rejection. So this even goes back to the leadership thing. Sometimes the reason why I don't delegate is because I don't want to ask, because I have that innate feeling that they're going to say no. So it's just better for me, instead of going through all that, I just do it myself instead of having to
Yeah.
ask somebody to help. But when you deal with the root of that, that's a traumatic thing. That's probably growing up in a strict household where everything was no, 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 no. Like, hey, Dad, I want some Jordans. No. So I had to figure out how to get them on my own, and that taught me a
Yeah.
lot of good things. But then you carry some of that other stuff, the negative side of that, and it shows up later, and you have to figure that out. And so all
Yeah.
that
It can be.
is helpful, and therapy kind of helps with that. But even if you're not talking to someone, learning how to even talk to yourself, which is
Yeah.
meditation. That's what meditation is muttering, musing, rolling things over in your head. And that's how you start seeing things, and you pick up patterns if you can just slow down for a second and be like, okay, why did I do this? Okay, I'm angry, but why am I angry? Because usually anger is a secondary emotion. And so when you can start figuring those things out, you can slow things down and you can get better. And I've gotten a lot better, but I also noticed for where I'm headed, I'm going to need someone else,
Yeah.
because to constantly do the work myself and just keep talking to myself, that actually became more stressful. So I needed to kind of outsource that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thinking about the rejection and other things that people internally deal with when they're trying to grow. I have no problem delegating to people, but my issue is I'll tell someone, I'll delegate so much to people that now they're overwhelmed, and I'll come back and like, you haven't done anything. It's like, you freaking overwhelmed me. You gave me 37 things to do, and I'm stuck now. And it's like, oh, that's not good leadership either. To
Yeah.
delegate everything and just, oh yeah, you do that, you do that. It's like, no, you also have to lead by example. So it's this ebb and flow. It's this, you you don't have it quite right yet. And I think there is a level. Um, I was listening to a guy, Donald Miller, yesterday, and he was talking about how he built this $3 million organization, and somebody gave him the advice. He says you need to professionalize your organization, and that's what's going to take you to the next level. And so I think there is a level where you hit a certain level of professionalism where you're dealing with folks that have experience handling things and can figure things out and take initiative, and they don't need as much direction, and they're not as afraid to move. But many of us aren't quite there yet. I mean, this guy was dealing with a $3 million organization, and that was the advice they gave him. It's like, okay, now that you get to that level, then you can kind of professionalize. So many of us are when you talk about business or even life in general, we're managing things and we're managing them with folks who are dealing with trauma as well, who don't have a lot of the experiences of, you know, how do I do something and I don't have instructions or I don't have someone holding my hand. And so not only are we dealing with that, we're leading people through that. And being aware of that is very important, because if you don't acknowledge that, it's going to be difficult for you to even actually you probably won't fix it because you're so in denial of what the real root problem is, that you're not even attempting to fix it because you're like, oh, I'm not. You lack awareness about, oh, these people are dealing with trauma too. Oh, they might have had a bad day too. Oh, the way I and here's one thing that's really getting me: the way I show up matters, right? That I have a natural tendency to want to be moody because I just am. I don't know, you know. I probably need to be diagnosed, but in lieu of that, there's a level of just, sometimes I got a ton of energy, sometimes I don't want to be bothered. And so, but as a leader, it's like, man, the way I show up matters because, and I think I've said this before, but you have to be careful of the shadow you cast. Now, you don't walked in and you kind of not talking to people, and the other day you was talking to people, and you kind of all over the place. It's hard for people to know how to take you or know what to do with you, or until they start realizing, oh, this person is just sporadic. You never know how they're going to feel. You never know how they're going to act. So you just kind of have to be on guard. And so also realizing that's not good either. So yeah, I think a lot of us deal with a lot of things that we got to be aware of to address.
Yeah, that reminds me of a leadership book that I read years ago, and it's escaping me what book it was, but it talks about your wake. So what the saying that says, "Oh, they left a lot of damage in their wake." That's
Mm,
actually it goes back to a sea term, a term of the sea. So what would happen in big ships, they leave. If you've ever been on a cruise ship, you'll look at behind it, you see as it moves forward, it leaves a lot of waves and ripples behind it. And so they have to be careful because there are smaller boats that are not near as big as the large cruise ships. And so someone else in a smaller boat can get caught up in that wake of the larger boat, and they could actually cause the boat to be overthrown. And so
mm,
the
that's
larger
good.
boats have to pay attention what kind of wake, what are they leaving in their trail. And what's so interesting and important about that is the fact that as a cruise ship, it's moving forward. It's not looking backwards. So you have to be aware of the people coming behind you and the things coming behind you so that you can make sure that you're not causing disturbances for them. So, as what you're saying is, okay, I'm moody, but I can't bring that mood into the people that I'm leading because that may damage them, and I may know that this is only a temporary mood. In other words, I'm crazy until I get my coffee. Well, that may work for me, but it may be damaging for the people that I'm
Right.
leading. So I got to be careful. What wake am I leaving? What am I doing? And when you, as it relates to home life, when you come home from a stressful day, if you carry all of that into the house and you leave a wake that damages people to where and and just the understanding that everybody's on different levels. So if you're the larger boat, you may look at him like, man, get over it. Shoot, I'm dealing with $100,000 problems at work, and you mad because I didn't smile. Yeah, but they're a smaller boat, and your
Mm,
weight could actually overturn them. It could throw them off. So you got to be
oh,
careful. And
that's
and
good.
as a pastor, I've really had to work on that because the way our church setup is, all our technology stuff is right at the back of the building. So I come right in and I get to working on that. And so whenever something is going wrong, when people start coming in the door, they're looking, "Hey, pastor," and I'm frustrated because I'm like, "We got 10 minutes, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to go live." And I don't want to you, "Hey, pastor," me. I want go on, get your seat because I'm trying to get going. But I have to realize that now I gotta within a few minutes turn around and preach to them. So if
Yeah.
I'm rude when they first come in the door, and I'm not intentionally trying to be rude, but I'm trying to work on something, but I've got to you got to learn how to put on a smile because you are a leader, and so your
Yeah.
wake is vitally important. And just to bring it home one more time, if I'm the cruise ship and you are the what is you're a jet ski, and you're
Hmm.
getting on the jet ski because you're on vacation and you're trying to have fun. But if I sink you, then I took what should have been fun for you and I totally turned your life upside down. So we have to be very careful in the wake that we leave.
Yeah. The bigger your wake, the bigger your responsibility. So I love that, especially for the smaller boats that's around you. That's big. And I think the healing part, like, are we really healing? I think that's why the therapy is huge, because walking around unhealed from stuff really is the root of a lot of things, right? Some of that childhood trauma. Recently I was in Atlanta, and I heard folks, some of the guys I was with, Marquell Russell and uh, Andre. I forget his name is Andre too. I forget his last name, but
He must have
uh,
been good. He must have been dope if his name was
he was
Andre.
good. But they talked about trauma as it relates to money. Like, so many of us are so
Oh, that's
scared
that's deep.
because we still think that we're that little kid that either has to hold on to a dollar or has to spend it every time to show off. Like, we're doing things still because we haven't healed from a lot of this stuff, that we dealt with, these childhood traumas, these adolescent traumas that we haven't healed from. And it relates into so many areas. But you see folks get stuck, or they don't want to invest in their future. Well, investing is, you know, if you look at the facts, investing is one of the best things you can do with your money. It's going to be better than you
Hmm.
just saving it. It's going to be better than you spending it. It's going to be better than in some cases, giving it all away. And I think you should do all those things. I think you should give. I think you should spend it. I think you should save it. But the facts show that being a really good steward over money would include investing a large portion of it, especially the younger you are. And then, well, even more if you didn't do that, the older you are. But the hesitancy, the you got to be, you know, I don't know about that investing stuff. It's like that's a childhood, that's a generational something that's popping up, that's got folks scared of things that in the information age you can dig into and get real facts about. It doesn't have to be this blurry, sort of ambiguous thing. But
Hmm.
if you got money trauma, if you've been hearing things, in your home when you were a kid, that, oh, we got to be watchful, we can't do that, and it's always you're just basically timid and scared, then that's showing
Hmm.
up in your adult decisions, because we have not addressed it and not really healed from that, so we can walk around here free, like we are who God says we are, and
Yeah.
moving on that basis.
I think about that because I had a friend of mine who was talking to me about just something else. It wasn't necessary. Well, I guess it's somewhat money related, but they were just saying that like if I don't know how to do something, I usually avoid it. So
Mm,
they were missing out on something because they kept every time kept coming to it. It's like I don't know how to do it. Like there's some forms that they were going to have to fill out, and then they look at the
mm,
form and there's like I don't know, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do it, and so they kept putting it off. But now he's doing it and starting to see like, man, I should have done this a long time ago because this is actually it's going to bring some money my way. But I didn't know how to do it. But then, as you were talking, I'm thinking that there's nothing that you come in the world knowing how to do. You have to learn everything. So why
exactly.
why is it that when we get older because we don't know how to do it, then that makes us shrink back? But babies don't know how to walk, they don't know how to talk, they don't know how to feed themselves. You didn't come here with any of that. You had to learn it. So the idea that not knowing should stop you from doing something, that's really a total backwards idea. But the older we get, the more we get set in that. Like I always tease my mom, she would like come set my TV so I can do this. And I was like, well, you got it right there. Well, I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, is that a good excuse for me to come from my house to your house to do this for you. So I always try to show her how to. So now she'll
Hmm.
call me and she'll be like, okay, I remember you told me such and such, and I got this far, but it's still not doing it. And we'll walk through the steps. Oh, and then she's happy, and then she hangs up. I got it. You ain't got to tell me no more, because she realized it was right within her fingertips. And some
Yes.
of it was as simply as her. She wanted to find a certain show, and I was like, your remote actually has a microphone on it where you can talk and tell the remote what show you want to see. She's like, really? Wow. But because she didn't know, she went months without finding her show. And we
Yeah.
do that in so many things, and that's part of our trauma too. But at some point, you gotta figure out, do do I need it more than I'm afraid of finding out?
Mm. Yep.
And sometimes, okay, I need it. So I'm just gonna go. And some of the stuff that I've done, I found out like it's super easy. I've been embarrassed at how easy it was, because
Yeah.
I was scared. I didn't know. So sometimes
And
you
that's
got to
just,
go. You got to
you
take a
know,
risk.
and I feel like, and I really want to encourage each other and anyone out there listening, is that one, abundance is ours. Abundance is, almost like we're about to preach or something, but abundance is our portion. And we have this regression towards lack. We want to, and part of that, I don't know, or I'm afraid to, or I can't do it. I see it with my youngest daughter. I was actually just on the phone with mama. It's been a crazy day, first of all, and I've been completely interrupt myself. But I was talking to mama, and my youngest daughter was picked up, she went in the pantry and grabbed some bottles. Now she ain't supposed to be drinking. These ain't even bottles she can drink no more. But she just gnawing on it and playing with it because there is a comfort in being a baby, right? There is a comfort in when you couldn't do stuff for yourself. And now that we're forcing her, like, no, life is abundant. You actually can do a lot yourself. You actually can eat as much as you can grab, so to speak. You don't have to wait on me anymore, in some instances. But you get my point that we like to regress towards lack, and it doesn't seem like lack, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to do that, or I don't know how to do it. But typically there are instructions somewhere that will tell you
Yeah.
how to do it. That will, and what is that? If there's something you don't know, and you start to learn it, then you now know the thing you didn't know. That to me represents abundance. Like, there's more than enough knowledge out there. There's more than enough ways out there for you. But this sort of slithering back into, well, I just don't know. Well, that is, it's a comfort zone, and all growth happens outside of the comfort zone. And so, I mean, if nobody else, you know, says anything to you or our listeners this weekend, even remember that abundance is like our portion. Abundance is our mandate, right? The edict from God, for those of us who believe in God, it's abundance. It's
Be fruit. I mean,
everything.
the first command was be fruitful and multiply,
Yes. How
not
can
be
you do
scared,
that?
not to be scared and hold back.
And I've been reading so much of because I've started my Bible in a year thing again, and that's a whole nother story. But finally got through last year, where I had stopped reading the Bible on purpose and was, mad at God and everything else. Finally got out of that rut, got
How
back
did that
into
work
the.
out for you?
it, it it
How
was
did that mad at God work out for you?
it didn't really. It was just it's weird because even during that mad at God period, it's like I felt like God started doing more stuff that I never realized. And then it was like, it also, I went through a lot of tough things, and it was like, wow, I really need my faith here. I really need belief. And so
Hmm.
not having it was like, oh, this is stupid. I could, why would I, again, it's that lack mindset. or maybe there isn't a God, or maybe I hate this, just anything that can make you like that, like you said, that anger, that sort of restrictiveness is really just a lack mindset. And I was reading Genesis, and as you read through, a lot of the scriptures that a lot of us believe, you see in there abundance. You see in there, um, just like there is abundance out there for us. And it's like, and I heard Myron Golden saying this the other day, and that's probably why it's so fresh on my mind. He was talking about the Garden of Eden, and he's like, what does the Bible say? You got all these gardens you can have, all these trees in the garden, you can have whatever you want. But then this liar comes and say, "Oh no, you really want this one tree." So you mean you have everything, you have abundance, but this lie comes and tries to tell you that, oh, this thing that you don't have, this one thing is the thing that you really want. And so it's like this idea, even back in the Garden of Eden, that's displayed. Is like, let's let's go to the thing we don't have. Let's like regress to one thing when we have everything. And I hope that all of us are encouraged not to get into that mindset, and to stay motivated that God's plan is for us to have all the trees, not just this one, right? And so the abundant mindset is really what I'm on, and like, hey, we can do this, we can get through this. But you gotta be willing to get out of that comfort zone and stretch for it, stretch for it. And there's a lot of other things, but one thing for sure is the more comfort. It's a difference between being content and being complacent, and it's a
Hmm.
thin line, right?
And I use that same thing, but I said it a little different. It's the difference between being content and being contained. Your
Mm,
contentment should never contain you. In other words, you don't want to put a lid just because I'm content in my 4-bedroom house doesn't mean I'm contained to where I can't buy a property that I could rent out later on. So don't allow your contentment to become containment, or like what you
exactly.
said about comfortability. Yeah,
Yeah, that
when
comfort.
you look at the Garden of Eden, what I found so interesting about that, because I always looked at, so like, what's the big deal about just that one tree? I mean, I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, but the big deal was it was the knowledge of good and evil. It put them in a place where now they have to choose. Before it was just good, but now they're going to be
Hmm.
presented with both good and evil, and now you have to choose. But some things that are evil appear good. Some things that are evil feel good. Some things that are evil taste good. So now you have to choose. Before, there it wasn't the choose, it was everything's abundance, abound in it, be fruitful and multiply. But being tricked into that put us in the thing where now we have to choose. So when people talk about we have free will, that's not the best thing, because now you have choice. But so since you do have choice, we that that choice took our choice away, because by the
Yeah.
time we showed up, we didn't have a choice. We have good and evil. We were thrust into that. But since that is the case, then we have to go to the root of that, which is it's the knowledge of good and evil. So now we have to seek knowledge so we know what to choose. And so we're saying we need to stop choosing lack, fear, comfortability. We got to kind of uh, push ourselves. But in order to do that, now we have to gain that knowledge. And so poo poo on Adam and Eve for putting us in this situation. But now that we're here, we need the knowledge, because now I got to
Yeah.
figure out this is evil, but why? Well, because my
Eh,
mama said it's evil. No, I need more than that. I need to know, because I'm going to have to make choice, and that choice is going to have ramifications.
yeah. And I think it's a good litmus test, when you're trying to figure out what to do next. It's like, am I going to move with an abundant mindset, or I'm going to move with a lack mindset?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times the lack mindset really is, it's not really even money. Like money is just, you know, not even in the top five things of what we need to really be fulfilled and and be at our best. But it's like what lies are telling us, okay, stay mad. Okay, um you know be stay moody, like the stuff, everything we were just talking about. It's like keep having that negative self-talk, or don't go get therapy. You don't need therapy. What can therapy teach you? It's everything. That's just these little lies that just get played over and over. And at some point it's like, okay, sometimes you fail to it, but that's even okay because you can get back up. But I just think it's a good test of everything. Like just seeing the world like that is like what is going to move me towards abundance, even with some of the choices. um and obviously you gotta use wisdom, right? But you don't want to just restrict yourself so much so that you're not even giving yourself a chance to do what God said is possible for you, right?
Hmm.
So that's what I've been on recently.
I don't know why this brings me to a crazy story, but it made me think about human nature, and if if we had knowledge about people, if we had it would change. And like if we knew people, and let's say if we gave people grace more, it would change so much. So I was thinking about something that happened to me that's kind of funny. So uh, went to the bathroom at work and came out the stall, washed my hands. Nobody was there. Getting ready to walk out the door and realized that, oh, I don't have my safety glasses. And I'm like, oh, I left them in the stall. So I'm like, I need to go back in there and I need to grab them. So I grab them, but when I'm coming out the stall, another person is coming in. And immediately I'm like, if I don't go wash my hands again, it's gonna look like I just came straight out the stall and walk right out. And so I'm like, I went and washed my hands again, not because I needed it, but because I don't want this person to think that I'm dirty or whatever. But what's funny about it is I didn't have the confidence to just do it because I was afraid of what it would look like. Because people don't give you the benefit of the doubt. They don't think because you don't have the information. So there's two things that brings it up is that when you don't know something about someone or a person doesn't know something about you, sometimes you have to go the extra mile. Sometimes you have to do things so that you're not putting something out there that is negative unnecessarily. So my hands were clean, but I went the extra step because I was concerned about how it was perceived. But part of that is wisdom. But on the other end, if it was somebody that I knew, I could be like, "Hey, my hands are clean. I promise. I just left that. I had to go grab that real quick." So I'm thinking of it on two ways. Is just how we are perceived is it greatly important. But if you do life with people, there are certain things that don't have to be explained because they can trust the person you are. So if it looks like I'm spending a lot of money to make money, then I can trust, well, this person has an abundance mindset. So I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust what they're doing. It's a risk. They're taking a risk, but I know them. But then there's the other side where like I'm so quick to talk about people I don't know. Man, I don't know what's Steven doing. He crazy. So I don't know if you could make sense
Well, I
out of
got
that.
my connection was messing up, but I have a story that so I didn't even fully hear your story, but I got a quick story about. I was in Miami and I was at this, mastermind conference thing, and I was in the bathroom washing my hands, and then I saw a guy come out of the stall and go straight out the door. But the guy was like a server. We were at a hotel restaurant, and he was like one of the head servers, or like, how the hotels have those like I don't know, chief coordinators of everything that's going on. And so I kept looking at him every time I seen him, and I'm like, I gotta address this dude. This is disgusting. This dude is helping us with the food. Is he crazy? So I go up to him. I said, "Hey, man," I said, "I was in the bathroom. Did you not wash your hands?" And I'm like, you know how when you get angry, like you get them little angry feelings start rising up in you. And he was like, English. You know, we were in Miami, so his English was okay, but he was, I mean, his English was fine, but you could tell he had like a little accent. He was like, "No, no, it's like in the stall. There's I watched." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I didn't believe him. I'm like, "Yeah, I caught you and I addressed you on it. Now what?" I go
Yeah.
back into the bathroom inside the stall, which I hadn't. Well, I don't see it frequently. I guess I had seen it before, but inside the stall there was another a sink, and so I'm like, "Oh, this dude probably did wash his hands, and I didn't even know it." And I done went off on him, and we at this mastermind, and we supposed to be like people of God, and I'm going off.
You tr-
And
you-
so I had to go back and apologize to him, like, "Man, my bad. I apologize. I didn't know that you. I thought you were serving food with dirty hands."
yeah,
But
it's that's life, and so we're quick to judge people, but sometimes you have a right to judge because that person's going to serve you. But sometimes we don't give people the same grace that we wish someone would give to us. So, like, had you to do it over again, you maybe would have approached them in a different way or done some
right.
investigation. And so, all those things are important. But Stephen Covey tells a story similar that I think will help tie it in because that's that's kind of a crass story that both of us are telling. But he tells a story of being on the subway where there's his father with about 4 or 5 kids on the subway, and they just are kind of running wild, and he's not doing anything. He's just sitting there looking, and like I can't remember if Stephen Covey was talking about himself or someone else. I can't remember the vantage point, but basically the person was just like they had got fed up. It was like, dude, are you going to get your kids? Don't you see them just running up and down? You're sitting here and you're doing nothing. And the guy was like, yeah, I'm sorry. Uh, my wife, their mother just died, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out a way to tell them
Mm,
that mama's gone. And I just don't know what to do. So I've just kind of been letting them go. And Stephen Covey's point was when new information enters in, it changes how you see the same situation. The kids were still
mm,
doing what they were doing, but that new information makes you see that, oh, I see it from his perspective now. He is not just a negligent father. He's sitting here with a horrible situation. And that's another thing about abundance, getting back to the topic. Abundance is willing to say, not everything I see is not what I see. There may be an abundance of information I need to get before I jump to this
mm.
conclusion. I need to
That's
maybe I
good.
need to find out what's going on. And because things will look a certain way, just like it looked like I walked out of the stalls and didn't wash my hands. It looked like that guy walked out of the stall and didn't wash his hands. But with more information, you're able to see another side. And same thing with this guy on the subway. And so the lack mindset is so quick to always be judging and not looking at the abundance of people. And see, now there are people who will do weird things, but when you think in the mindset of abundance, then why would God have me in a place where my server is not going to wash his hands? And if God
Hmm.
does have me in a place where my server is not going to wash his hands, that's probably why I say grace and blessing. And so it's just a different mindset to have.
It it is, it is, it is, and I love that because we have this tilt a bit towards what's negative, and that is something I really want to address with folks over time, over the rest of my life, is that we do need to see things from an abundant standpoint. You know, you could be talking ideas. Oh, I don't think that'll work. Oh, ain't somebody already doing that? Oh, that you really think you could do that? And here's what I like. PD said this recently. He was like, much the funny thing about Christians is we almost think humility is like this thing where we sink, and again we all weak and sad and got our head down. But he said much of what we learned about Jesus, we learned it because he said it about himself. So think about that. Much of what we know about Jesus is because he said it about himself. So if we're supposed to be like Jesus, we can't be coming, to situations not really knowing who we are, and also being afraid of, what other people are going to say about us. There has to be this mindset of, okay, this is who I am. And even what you said earlier, gosh, I can't remember, but when you first opened up, there was something you said that made me think about this. Of what God has for me is for me, or something of that nature. Uh, it's like there's a thin line, right? One, we've got to be confident and abundant enough to introduce ourselves the right way. We talked about that before, and not
Hmm.
sabotage our own selves. Oh, I'm just a little servant of the king. It's just you don't even introduce yourself with any strength, any confidence, any
Yeah.
vigor. Like, Jesus himself, he told you about himself, and he did it confidently, and he ticked people off. So there are levels to this, right? And there are situations, and you have to use wisdom. But when we see things abundantly, also, it's like, even if somebody don't understand me, I trust that the people who need to understand what I said do understand it. And I'm not going to be sitting here trying to apologize for everything that I do, because who needed to hear it from me heard it, and I'm moving on to something else. I ain't got time to sit here and explain myself to everybody. And, oh, no, I didn't mean it like that. Now, certain friends and but we've got to have a confidence and an abundant mindset and a positive tilt on things. And we can't give a lot of energy and time to folks that's just, you know, Steve put up a post recently about it, and you got to tell Steve what we talked about off camera. Steve, we want you to. Andre said you can come flip his house, but but that post he put up about the house flip that he did was so inspirational to me, because people saying, "Hey, I want to get into buying houses." Oh, you probably shouldn't buy right now, or you don't know. It's like, stop with all that negative. There is a time to critique, but it's not the time where I'm casting the vision.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm done.
Yeah. Just going back to what you're saying about like how Jesus talked about himself. So the majority of people will say Jesus was poor, but do you know that's not what Jesus said about himself? And I could prove it to you when the one woman was came and she had poured this expensive perfume on his feet. Uh, the disciples were like, "That's a waste of money. That money could have been sold and given to the poor." And Jesus said, "The poor you have with you always, but you won't always have me." So that proves
Mm,
that he didn't consider himself as poor,
that's
because he's
good.
like, "You, this is my turn to do whatever." So now, wealth is a relative term, so you can look at it different things. But he didn't consider himself poor. So the question is, outside of even your bank account, does that mean you have to consider yourself poor? Do you have to consider yourself poor just because what you purchased came from the Goodwill? And do you have
That's
to tell
good.
somebody when they say, "Oh, you look good. Oh, I got this from the Goodwill." I mean, do you really have to say that?
No.
And you say that because you feel poor. You don't feel abundant. Speak of yourself the way you would want people to think of you.
Yeah.
And
The
so
proper response is thank you.
it's that thank you. Like, you don't have to be arrogant with it, but like some people say, "Oh, you're handsome." Well, I just try to do what I can. All right, whatever. You like like if somebody was to call you ugly, you would be upset.
All
So when
right.
they call
But
you
won't accept the
handsome,
compliment.
oh my, well, I just try to do what I can. We
Yeah.
got, and there's a fine line, but the point is having the abundant mindset to be willing to say, okay, or I appreciate that, thank you, and move on. Because life will try to devalue you, so you shouldn't devalue you too. You got to learn
Exactly.
how to have that, and so that's good. It's another funny thing that now it. I don't have time to get into it, but the first five books of the law are attributed to Moses. We know that Moses died at a certain time, so some of the things couldn't all have been him. Some because it talks about his death. So somebody else had to write some of that. But a portion in the Torah, it calls Moses the meekest man on the earth. But if Moses was the author, he he was not shy. He's like, hey, I'm the meekest man on the earth. And like,
God
is that
told me
really
I'm the meekest out here.
is that really meek? But sometimes it is. Just to
Yeah.
be honest about who you are. And when you are a gifted person, you'll realize that everybody can't do what you can do. And your giftedness is at a level that everyone does not have. And so sometimes you just have to embrace the fact that you're gifted. People say, there's no way I could do what you could do. You don't have to be like, shoot, ain't you right? Ain't no way you could do what I could do. You don't have to be arrogant about it, but you ought to know what you bring to the table, to the point, not for the arrogant side, but to the point when someone is trying to devalue you and belittle you, like you're saying, like, nah, I don't have to take that. And even what you had said earlier, it takes me all the way back to the idea about the wake. When your wake is good, people can talk about you, but other people won't believe you because you have a track record.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's a jerk. He's not a jerk. He's focused. And maybe you
Right.
stepped in and you were about to break his focus, and he don't play that. No, he's not a jerk. He's a winner. Oh man,
That's good.
so and so Michael Jordan's an a-hole. He was a champion, and he let everybody know up front this is how it was going to be. And if you were going to get all the benefits, because everybody who played on that team got the benefits of him being who he was, getting into
Hmm.
the restaurants free, getting in all that. And so you can't turn around and act like, oh well, he was just a tyrant. No, we all benefited. The wake blessed all of us. It was just that we knew up front this is what it was about. And so when your wake is good, people will stand up for you and they be like, no, you got him or you got her wrong, because they really are really good people. They are abundant people.
Yeah. And it's, it's funny because we, going back to the trauma thing, I think and I don't know how much longer we're going to go, but I think God probably, looking back at a little bit of how we grew up, and how we were coming to the altar every revival and, some Sunday services, and we repenting every 5 seconds. Some of that was good. Some of that was good. And I know specifically still need to grow a lot in the things of God and sanctification and doing certain things right, in a way that's pleasing to God. And I respect that. And I don't want to belittle that. But I do want to say on the other end is that I wonder if God was laughing sometimes, like, y'all keep trying to fix the same thing. Like, it's not even, I'm not even concerned about that. Like, fix something that is actually a problem, or go do something in the land that can actually show that you're being fruitful, multiplying and having dominion. You sitting there mad because you don't watch the movie with cussing in it, and you sitting there trying to get forgiveness from God and get saved again. It's like, come on. I have more grace than that. I don't need you sitting here, and if you're convicted by it, whatever. But my point is that, like, I think that in retrospect, some of that was just trauma of us trying to be pleasing, and, all right, I must have did something wrong, or I stubbed my toe, or I was in a car accident, so God must be mad at me. No, maybe the guy was just driving bad and you got in a car accident. Thank God you're still alive. Now continue to do what you here to do. I almost think it's like a distraction, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
we're supposed
it
to
is.
be having dominion.
And really what it is, we don't see is self-righteousness. It's focus on self. But the Bible talks
Mm.
about righteousness is a gift. We're supposed to be receiving the gift of righteousness. The Bible says a righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets up 8. He really don't waste a bunch of time. He gets up. And then it's
Right.
funny, you turn around and you look at people who are in the quote unquote in the world and you wonder why they're so successful. They just keep getting up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I blew it. I messed up. I was at the top of my game and I cheated on my wife and I lost everything. And then I built it all back up. I didn't wallow in it. I got up and moved on. And then you got somebody who's laying on the altar every week and they doing it every week and never moving forward. So,
Right.
and some of
Get up
that was
off that
just
altar and go
so
do something.
yeah, some of that was just emotionalism, and we're trying to learn and grow from that, and it's not that it's not important to do right, but how long you're gonna wallow in it. Even God told he, he told a couple people that Samuel was crying over Saul, and he was like, "How long are you gonna cry over him? Get up,
Yeah.
I got somebody else." David was around the corner. He's like, "Get up, go anoint." Like, look, I moved on from him, so you can cry about
Yes.
it. You can, time to move on. And
Or you
so
can go
we
do
got to
what I
have that.
called you to do next.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got to have that same mindset and just get up, move forward. And that's abundance. The
it
abundance
is.
mindset is that if I stay in this place right here, okay, I'm in lack right now. I got to repent for how I got there. But if I just keep wallowing in that, and the scripture even says laying the foundation of repentance over and over and over, at some point you got to get up and act, and abundance will drive you to act. To because even it's scriptural. It says, "Be ye steadfast, immovable, always
Always
abounding
abounding.
in
Yes.
the work of the
In the
Lord."
work.
So you're steadfast, you're solid, and you're immovable, but you're always abounding. You're moving toward that mindset of abundance.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say is that I'm really big on business right now. Anybody who's paying attention to me knows that. And I heard something this past weekend is what I thought was great. They said a lot of the business that some of these folks are doing is really ministry disguised as business, because some folks are they tired of just going to church and getting back and hearing a good word, and you still ain't got no money in your bank account, you still ain't got no peace in your home, and you still arguing because you can't go on a nice vacation. And so I think business is a vehicle when used correctly to get us out into the economy, get us out into the marketplace. um, but as long as you stay at that altar 9 days out of 10, and you ain't, you can be in the altar in your mind, and always be recognizing that God is in control. But we got to get out and go do something, and that could be ministry. There is outside of the four walls. And I like the generation that I'm seeing coming up. A lot of young people, young black people. When I say young, I mean our age group, 40s, 50s, who 30s, that have the baton now, right? I praise
Hmm.
God for my mom and my dad and the positions they put me in, and how they succeeded and got us to new levels. And look what we can do now. Look at where we're at. Look at the reputation that you have. Look at the name that we have. Like, these things should not be, there is no disrespect in the fact that I'm about to say that we have the baton now. And it's, not to look back, oh, they didn't know. They did plenty. They did a great job. Many folks' parents have done a fantastic job given the circumstances. I think the mandate now is really for us who have the baton, who more, running the organizations, doing the stuff. Is, we're up. And so we've got to take this thing and run with it. And I'm excited about the people I see doing that and getting out there, believing in themselves, and investing in themselves, and really moving with that abundant mindset and attacking lack and lies at every angle. And so I'm excited about that. And I hope, you know, are we about to finish up?
Yeah, yeah, we're close
Okay.
to a
Well,
little bit over the
I'll say
hour.
my last I'll say my last words. I'm excited about the fact that people are connecting with like-minded people. I'm excited about y'all that are watching us now, because you could be watching Netflix, you could be watching Sports Center, The Shade Room, you could be on your phone, you could be doing a video game or something. There's so many things around us, but you have to be intentional about getting around the right people so you can get this mindset and get encouraged and get this energy, this spirit of abundance around you, not so somebody can just get an offering from you. I don't think, we may not raise one tonight. We may raise one on the next one, but but not just
It's
for
coming,
that. It's coming, but more so for the fact that, look, there is abundance available for you in so many forms. we're in a generation of so many opportunities. Ah, there's so many. I was on a call earlier today. We were talking about writing a movie script using artificial intelligence. Like
Yeah.
we're just in a at a special time. And yeah, some of it's scary, but we ain't gonna sit there and be walking around with no scary mindset. Scared of what? We believe God. We got God on our side. What am I scared
And
of?
and, and here's
So
something to bring up is that people are projecting recession, recession, recession. But some of the greatest inventions, uh, industry shifts came on the heels of recession. So don't see recession and get scared. All that means is money is changing hands, and that's what scares the folk who have it and hoard it. It's
right.
coming to another place, and so there was no such thing as content creators. It was Hollywood. You had to get Hollywood radio. You had to get everything from them. But now it's content
Yep.
creators. We are becoming owners. We are owning things, and it's really a time to be excited because now we're not controlled by the media strings and puppets because everybody's got their own voice, and so it's really exciting. So don't be listening to the people who are trying to scare you out of the abundance. This is actually the best time in human history for us. Why? Because we're living this. I can't worry about another time in history. I wasn't there. I'm here now. This is my time now. And yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
ready to carpe diem. I'm ready to seize the day. Anyway, I didn't mean to
Seize it.
interrupt you.
No, but and look, the last thing I'll say is connect with me. As Stephen Motivate, connect with Andre. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe, follow me on Instagram and all the social media platforms. Find me on Facebook. Because you need to be, I can't stress it enough. And I know I sound like a salesman, but I am, because I want to get you the solutions that you need. I want you to get this mindset, because I'm getting free from a lot of stuff. Like, I'm getting free from this idea that I can't. And the thing about it, what sucks, I had a terrible day today, terrible day yesterday, because what, terrible in the sense that I'm going through one of those entrepreneurial valleys where stuff is tough. I got to figure out a lot of new stuff. It's stuff I ain't never done. God forbid, I got to read something. I got to learn a new skill in order to get to the thing. And it's stretching me and it's uncomfortable. And that's what, yes, uncomfortable situations feel terrible, but they also, on the other side of them, lead to more abundance and more growth. And, I'm praying for that, not only for myself, and not just abundance in money, abundance in wisdom, abundance in peace, abundance in time spent with your family and cherishing the moments you have now, like all of it, including money. And so connect with me. Go to my website. We just redid the website, stephenmotivate.com. Take a look at it. Let me know what you think about that. Because I'm just super excited about what's next. And I'm so excited because things went so bad that I'm starting to learn. Oh, like we used to talk about in church. Oh, the devil's fighting. The devil's don't like what's going down right now. The enemy of our lives is not happy that things are moving and shaking. And so I'm excited in spite of the challenges that I'm facing, because it's a sign that good things are happening now and are around the corner. So that's it for me.
Yeah. With that being said, I want to bring this comment back up on the screen by Angela Davis. Thank you for everybody who's been commenting. I see all of you guys in here. It's beautiful. Um, but that opposition, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. I like the fact that she chose two oppositions, but three opportunities, which shows me that the opportunity is going to outweigh the opposition. And it is that, and
Yes.
but the opposition was first. She put the opposition first. So usually, you see the opposition and you want to quit, but the opposition is a sign that the opportunity is just around the corner. So you just got to outlast. So outlast the opposition to get to the opportunity. So
And
it's
make
beautiful.
that
This
hand.
this is time for just some hand claps. Woo! And we got to do our obligatory air horn. All right, so everything's down there. Pastor Andre Mitchell, Stephen Mitchell at Rev Andre M on all my social media. www.andremitchell.com. You can find me. You can connect with me. And if you ever wanted to hear me in person, 720 East 2nd Street, you can come into Deliverance Temple. We will be having a time showing people love, doing what we do. So we appreciate y'all. I think
And do us
it's
one
time.
favor. Do us one favor. Do us one favor. If this helped you at all, if you enjoyed it at all, send it to one person. Find the button, whatever you're watching it on. You can. It's usually a share button somewhere. Copy the link, text it to somebody, send it to somebody on Facebook Messenger. If you enjoyed it, if you don't, then don't do that. But if you enjoyed it, send it to somebody else.
Yeah, and let me say, we do this actually for you. This is not for us. We do it for you. We would talk like this amongst each other, and we just had one idea. Is like, why don't we let people in on our conversation? So whether y'all come in or not, we would be talking to each other. But we decided to open it up, and people have been saying, "Hey, do some more of it." So we do it for you. So share it to more people because, hey, great minds think alike, and when great minds get together, we make great things happen. All
That's
right.
right.
Hey, Michael, I hope to see you soon. Maybe you can show up on your motorcycle and come through and visit us. All right, we're about to holla. Appreciate, love you all. Lynn, Jamie, Kelly, Michael, Angela, Jocelyn,
Thank y'all.
everybody. We appreciate you.
Jesse.
We got to
Thank
go,
y'all.
though. Peace.